Once you have your diagonal lines drawn on one side and you have all the coloring done, I'm not there yet, but I'm gonna pretend I am, then it's time to cut your paper strips. But you have to measure them first. So you're going to turn your project over and you're gonna place it in front of you the landscape direction, not the portrait, the landscape direction. And with your ruler, you are going to find where the measuring starts. On this one, you can see that it doesn't start right at the edge of the ruler. This long line right here means that's where the measuring starts. And we are going to measure every ½ inch all the way across your paper. So if you can look closely, so this is where my measuring starts. Every ½ inch is the long line. So the long line in between each inch. So this would be, I'd make a mark here. This would be my first mark. And then an inch, because every ½ inch includes the inches, the numbers. Then here would be another ½ inch, another ½ inch right on the number, another ½ inch on the number, ½ inch, ½ inch, ½ inch, ½ inch, all the way to the end of the ruler. So since there's 12 inches in the length of this paper, I'm going to have 24 marks. Or there's going to be 24 sections because we're doing 2 per inch. So I'm going to put it towards, if you can see, I'm not quite at the top of my paper or at the very top. There's a little bit of paper peeking out, and that's just enough where I can make all my little ½ inch marks. So I already showed you where the ½ inches are. So I'm gonna make my marks now. So I line that up, and lift it up so I can show you here. So here's the edge of my paper. I wanna line up where my ruler starts. I wanna make sure that that doesn't slide around. It's hard to see it on a white table, but it's right there, right there. All right, so I'm lined up. So with my pencil, just at every ½ inch, I'm making a little tiny little line right at that ½ inch mark. So there's 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. My ruler stays still. It's where it needs to be. I'm gonna try really hard not to move it. 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10, 10.5, 11, 11.5, and then that's the edge of the paper, so I don't have to make one for 12. All right, so you can see I think you can see all those little marks at the top of my page. Now I need to do the same thing at the bottom. So here's my ruler right where I was measuring. I'm just gonna slide it down to the bottom of my paper. Make sure it's lined up again where my measuring starts, the line where my measuring starts. Line that up and then do the same thing. I don't have to make one because this is at the very edge of the paper. So I just start at the ½ inch. 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5, 11.5, and then 12 is my edge, the edge of my paper. All right, you don't want to make a big long line. You just need a little tiny mark so you know where that ½ inch is. Now you're going to connect them all. So I'm right-handed. I'm going to start at the right side of my paper. If you're left-handed, it's going to look opposite. You're probably going to want to start at the left side of your paper and you're drawing your lines on the left side if you're left-handed. Most are right-handed, so you're going to do what I'm doing over here. You want, when you're using a ruler, if you're right-handed, you're using the right side of the ruler. You can't do this. It's really awkward. So right side of the ruler, I'm going to start at my right side of the paper and move my way across. So I'm lining up, there's one mark, here's the other mark. Okay, remember I hold my ruler steady and I pull my pencil toward me. See how it's angled toward me? I don't try to do this and I'm not going up and pushing my pencil line. I'm pulling it toward me. Slide it over. There's my other line. Lined up here, I'm lined up down here. That's what's gonna make it nice and straight and parallel and a 1/2 inch all the way. Lined up, draw my line, line it up, draw my line it up, draw a line it up, draw your line all the way across. Once you have all of your lines connected from the top to the bottom, your paper should look kind of like this, about 1 inch thick lines all the way across. Then when you're all done, you need to number the sections, because once you cut all those strips, you have to know what order to glue them down in. So start on one side and make sure you can read your numbers, 1 all the way through 24. You should have 24 different pieces. And then you can cut as neatly as you can right on those lines.